So the ultimate model that I teach, okay, so is the doctor working part-time or just managing? So I don't recommend busting your ass. I recommend doing the opposite. I'm big into leveraging time and money, not busting your ass. So a good scenario is like 100 patient visits a week, $75 per collection. That's not difficult. That's 390,000 divided by 50% overheads, 195. I'm real big into associate doctors, and the reason is it leverages time and money. When you don't have an associate doctor, you're never able to get out of your office. You can't vacation. You're stuck. I mean, there's doctors I know that haven't taken off for a week, in years. And it's pretty rare. And if they do, it's very rare. So not only do associate doctors give you freedom to start to enjoy life, but when you know how to do it and you do it right, it's the easiest source of passive income for the money. Our typical associate doctor only costs $6,000 to $9,000 before they break even. So there's no more money going out. So one associate doctor costs only $6,000 to $9,000. That's it. And then we'll typically get back this 120 visits a week at that $75 per visit is $468,000 at a 50% overhead is $234,000. That's what you can make with your associate doctor. Now, what did it cost me to make that $234,000? It cost me $6,000 to $8,000, the initial money until they broke even. Because remember, once they break even, and that only takes about 13 to 20 patient visits a week. Because remember, as soon as they break even, there's no more outflow. It's a break even, and now it's just profit from there up. And I do this twice. You always want to do it twice, because if one associate doctor leaves, there's nothing like when you start working part-time and you have an associate doctor, or if you don't work and you have an associate doctor, it's miserable going back to working full-time. You'll find that out real fast. So I always say have 2 full-time associate doctors. Don't practice or manage or work part-time. That's a really good model. So 234. And if you train and sell off 2 offices a year and you only sold them off for 250, see? So that's $500,000 after. So if you took this money, so you took your 195 from seeing 100 patient visits a week, took your 234,000. And by the way, what I'm showing you right now is exactly how we create multi-million-dollar clients. You have to learn leverage of money and time is the bottom line. If you don't, you'll essentially not have much of a net worth or much of a high income. So you go 195 working part-time, and then you go 234 because you learn how to hire, train, and manage associate doctors. That's at a $75 per visit, which is not difficult. That's only about 20% personal injury. It only takes about 20% of your practice and personal injury to have a $75 per visit collection. 120 visits a week is very easy. That's not difficult. So with those 3 combinations alone, it's 195, 234, 234. And then we sell off. When you're in your office, I always say, hey, if you already know how to do this, how smart would it be if you already know all this? You know how to train, you know how to get new patients, you know how to keep patients, you know how to hire, train, and manage staff. In other words, you know how to create this whole money machine. Well, how stupid would it be to stop doing it now? That wouldn't be very smart, right? So then I say, well, just sell off offices. You've got time. Bring 2 doctors in a year, sell them off their own offices at $250, bring them in and train them. While they're in training, they make the money that you use to open their office. So the only money it costs you, again, is the money, the initial 1 to 2 months before they break even. That's it. They stay in training. While they're in training and learning how to do all this, the money goes into an escrow account. That's the money that's used to open their office. So there's very little money on your part going out. There's very little risk. There's a lot of sweat equity. There's a lot of training. And it's pre-bought. Then they open the office back where they're from or where they want to open their office. And you could charge, for an example here, $350, $250. So if you added another 500 to that, that's a year. So if you worked part-time, so 100 visits a week, train 2 doctors, have 2 associate doctors, that's $1 million working part-time. That's even if you didn't want to work. See? So, and again, these are not things you have to know. You got to know how to do them. It's not like you can not know how to do this and then the next day go out and do it. You do have to learn it. You got to train it. You got to scale up. It depends on, who you've hired as a mentor, that kind of thing. So that's over $1 million. That's pretty much what my consulting, but we do one other thing. We now take that money and we leverage it into real estate, because it's the real estate that's going to create security, financial security, and freedom in your life. It's not chiropractic. It's your real estate. Now, again, if you don't know, fortunately, I learned how to buy real estate, especially negotiate it, find it, and do owner financing. So I don't even have to worry about banks. So the less you know, so if you're not even very good, you could increase your income 3 to 1. Put a third down. That's like ridiculously simple and easy. And you could do that with a bank note. So here's 1.1 million. So I could easily take that into 3 million. Say, this is how I did 5, 10, and $20 million practicing chiropractic, because it was not by practicing chiropractic. It was by leveraging time and money. Chiropractic practice will only give you a good income. That's all it'll do. And it'll make you work. The key is to not only learn the first level of all these categories, but the second level, which is how to leverage time and money, how to bring in associate doctors, and then take that, your residual income, and move it into real estate. That's the easiest $1 million you'll ever make, not in chiropractic. So in this particular case, it was over $1 million. If it was 5 to 1, that's 5 million. 10 to 1, you got $1 million, that's $10 million. So you see, it's about leverage. You're leveraging your money through first with your patients. That's exchange of time for money. You want to learn how to do that at its highest dollar per visit. Okay. And we'll go into some of those scenarios here in just a second. And then when you do that, that's a pretty good income. You can live a good life, big house, big car, all that kind of stuff, but you still got to go to work, and you're not going to have much security until you start moving it off. Until you start getting associate doctors, that gives you freedom. Now you can work 3 days a week, 1 day a week. A lot of my clients end up just working 1 day a week, managing, and then having 2, 3 associate doctors and managing, and opening satellite offices, or even selling offices, or even opening satellite personal injury offices. That's what they eventually do. And then you leverage X amount of that money into real estate, essentially 5 to 10 to 1, because that's really where your financial wealth is going to come from. It's not your practice. Your practice is the feeder system